This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. But we are sitting here with a giraffe, in Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is a really lovely start to the morning. It's not that cold. I only have one jacket on this morning. It's actually quite pleasant, although I am sure it will get a little bit colder as I bumble on. And we will be coming to you live, not just from Djuma. We have 2 feeds from Djuma and many other locations across South Africa. So you will be able to jump on all of the safari vehicles and see what we have to offer you today. So everyone, get ready. It's that time of day for your live bumble through the bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all on the back of my vehicle. My vehicle is, of course, Wendy, one half of the Djuma team here. What a lovely start. My name is Lauren. I do have Owen on camera, and it's so lovely to see a giraffe. I haven't actually seen one in quite some time. We're just on quarantine here, and you can see it's busy feasting. It's breakfast time already, that's for sure. My vehicle feels rather empty, especially after yesterday. We had Grant and Damon from Phinda on Wendy. It was a rather full vehicle, but a thoroughly enjoyable one. We had so much fun. If any of you missed it, please go back on YouTube and check it out. It was a very entertaining drive. And I decided not to start up a tree today. That was hard work, getting 3 people up a marula tree, but we all managed to get down ourselves, don't worry. So before I forget, these safaris that we provide for you all across South Africa are not only live, they're happening right now, they're also interactive, which means you can talk to us. You can send in any lovely or funny comments if you feel like we need a chuckle or two, and you can ask questions to all the guides. So if you have any specific questions to specific guides, write their name. If not, one of us will hopefully get round to answering them. So you submit your questions in a number of ways. You can choose. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Or if you're on YouTube, you use @FC in the chat, which stands for Final Control. Or you can head over to the WildEarth website. As long as you've registered, you can submit your questions under the live safari page. But kids, if you're watching, please do talk to us. You are the future and you are the best. But you send in your questions via email, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Hello, mister. You're being very, very wonderful to us this morning. Sometimes giraffes get a little bit spooked by cars and they'll walk away, but not this guy. My plans for today are just to bumble. I do want to check on Batilda. I'd love to go and check on the African hawk eagle nest and see whatever comes our way. I had the most perfect sighting with Kalamba yesterday. She performed in all shapes and sizes. She really showed off to the boys. She knew we had guests on board, and typical Kalamba really showed off. So hopefully Jonty might be able to catch up with her this morning. I'm not entirely sure she'll be there, but there definitely was a little bit diker left. A fraction of diker on that tree. So she may still be around. We call Jonty a giraffe sometimes because Jonty is remarkably tall, especially when next to me. So tune in tomorrow and we're going to show you exactly how tall Jonty is. But for now, as we sit here on this very pleasant morning, let's take a look at the weather across all our locations.
Good morning, everybody. That's funny that Lauren called the giraffe Jonty. I'm going to have to look for a dwarf mongoose. See if I can name it Lauren. Morning, everyone. I am Jonty. We've got Darren on the camera. And we are just enjoying a beautiful, slow drive. There was a report on the dam cam that Dark Main Evoker male line was at Djuma Dam, sounds like heading west, so we might go back that way. But our initial plan was to head straight to where Talamba had a herdica kill, see if there's anything left. Lauren said there was a little bit of meat left, so we want to go check that out. It is a beautiful morning. A little bit of a chill in the air. But other than that, the sun is coming up. And it's going to be another awesome, awesome day. It was very cool catching up with Damon and Grant yesterday, sort of reminding me of stories and just time spent at Phinda. It's a very, very special place. And they're such cool guys. So, just picking up, I know yesterday, myself, Daz, and Odie were taking bets on what time Darkmane would start roaring. We were all out big time. So, when we were back at the camp having dinner, he started roaring at 33 minutes past 7. So I don't know if anybody got it right. We certainly got it wrong. But he was roaring a few times, must have been from that open area by Djuma Dam. It was such an epic sound. Matthew, I don't know, they're both beautiful, but I do like morning drives because you get out nice and early, especially now in this time of year, winter. It doesn't get very, very hot. So you're not limited by darkness. You can stay out longer. So whenever I go places now, or guiding now in the winter, I'll suggest to the guests to take with like a picnic brunch, and we just maximize time out in the bush. Whereas obviously in the afternoon, the sun sets, so you get limited with light. So yeah, I do like, I think I'd say mornings. It's just also this nice crisp air in your face. The sun's coming up, you're feeling good, you're feeling alive, and there's this like anticipation to try and find out what's happened the night before. You know, you're looking on the road, if there's any tracks, there could be some clues to follow up on something. Even now, like as we're heading to where Talamba's been for the last few days, you're wondering what's happened there. Have hyenas turned up? Has maybe another leopard turned up? Is she still there? Has she left it? Is it finished? It's very, very exciting. While we keep making our way down there, you're going to head over and say good morning to Rule.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond Ngala's Private Game Reserve, where this morning we just have that beautiful sunrise to try and enjoy. Morning, everybody. My name is Roel, and behind the camera I've got Mpo today. We are set off to try and see if we can find the rest of the Birmingham Pride with the white lines, and we just thought while we are here, we take a little bit of time just to enjoy that sunrise. It is one of the beauties of nature. Actually, watching the sunrise and the sunset is one of the best things that I enjoy mostly out here. I think this is one of the best things out here in the morning, just to sit down and enjoy with just nothing but birds and a beautiful sunrise coming out. It's actually one of the best things when you sit out here and you just watch, because everything, it's almost like everything else comes to life. So it's been a very freezing night, and now that the sun is coming out, that little bit of warmth that the birds and the animals are getting, at least that little bit of energy gets them a bit more active. So now, after this, I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing all the bird sounds going off and everything else this morning. Safari teacher, I think you have found a word, eh? It is a breathtaking moment to get to see this, and I mean, like, it's really difficult to explain to a person the feeling that you get when you actually sitting down and looking at the sunrise, and somebody asks you, what was it like? It really is breathtaking. It's also amazing how you can actually, it's almost as if you can see the sun when it's moving, because when we started about a few minutes ago, that sun was way tucked behind that silhouette of the trees, and now you can see that little golden glow just above it. Within just minutes, shows how much or how quickly that sun is moving throughout the day. I am starting to hear some birds become active. And in the background I can hear an impala starting to do that little rutting sound there. I must say, sunrises are very beautiful. I think sometimes all we need is just to sit and absorb. Because a lot of people, to be honest, I know that a lot of people are caught up in a lot of their daily activities, waking up in the morning. Some people have to go to school, some people have to go to work, and people have to get on with businesses, and life goes on, and you might have an appointment early in the morning. The hustle of getting in and out of transports to get to the office, to get everywhere that you guys want to go. And in most cases, people miss these moments, not because they don't have time, but because everything else in the life moves pretty fast. So that's why I enjoy, whenever we have time to actually enjoy this, we take it and we sit and we just watch. It might be for a few minutes, but just to take it and let it sink in, who knows? I'm just starting to see some impalas and wildebeest react in the same direction. It looks like there might be something that they're looking at. Sounds like they are alarming, so I'll wait a little bit more to see. But I'm pretty sure in the direction that they're looking in, there might be something that they're seeing out there. We just heard a male lion roar. Male lion, there. That's what these guys have been alarming by. Amazing, just watching a sunrise. Impala's alarming, and a male lion appears in this scene. It does not get any better than this.
Good morning and welcome to WildEarth. We are live on Bushwalk at Eco Training Pridelands. Just about to start our walk and enjoying another beautiful sunrise this morning. In the background we've also got some crested francolins that are alarming. So quite often before we start our walk, we just listen and hear what sounds of animals or alarm calls we can hear to determine what is in the area. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Craig. So our plan for this morning is to listen for any disturbances and alarm calls that might be created by birds or other animals, as we're trying to work an area again where we had a brief glimpse of a single lioness yesterday afternoon, and we're really hoping that we can most locate on her again. Other than that, we will be looking at some trees and tracks and whatever else nature brings to us. I just love the sound of those little crested francolins in the background. Very easy always to remember if you're not sure how to remember a call. They say basically pump handle, pump handle, pump handle. And in the meanwhile, we're going to start our walk and I hand you over to Ngala and see what they have on offer.
Well, I can say it is a beautiful way to start the morning. Just going from watching the sunrise to seeing everything else unfold and everything else starting to move. Now we've got this young male here. Looks like the Birmingham young male. And it looks like he's vocal every now and again. So what we're going to do, we're going to wait here, sit. Hopefully we get to hear him make some noise or some sounds. I'm not sure if he'll make that big of a roll, but it would be very interesting to see if he's going to roll out loud, try and contact or communicate with the rest of the pride and all that. And if you guys, I'm not sure if you can hear this, but the impalas and the wildebeest behind us are going mental. And it's because they've seen a big male lion. Now there's a huge threat, but it doesn't look like this male is paying any attention to these antelope at all. But for them, it is still threatening, like seeing a male lion where they are. So I think let's just watch for now. Hopefully he'll get to vocalize for us. Julia, I agree with you. This Birmingham young male is a stunning young male lion. And in fact, he didn't really move far from where we were yesterday with him in the evening towards the end of the show. So we not that far. I think we might even be 4 or 5 kilometers away from there. So he could have moved even further, but because he was now coming back this way, so I don't know if he ran into some trouble during the night, wherever he was headed, but now maybe coming down to settle down here. I'm hoping that with the sun coming out, he will not move far, so that we get to spend a little bit more time with him, see if anything else happens. Gavin, he is not hunting at this moment. I believe you're asking if he would be hunting at this time. So lions are known to take an opportunity when it arises. But this one particular male right now doesn't look like he's interested in any hunt at all, because you can hear behind us there's a lot of alarming happening. So he's actually looking the opposite direction of where these antelopes are. He's not really interested at all. I think during the day, the problem is that all the other animals have got an advantage of sight. In the evening when it's dark, he's got a better advantage of sight. So they'll take the opportunity sometimes during the day or hunt when they're really hungry and have to. But right now, it doesn't look like he is interested in hunting or anything. So I think he just wants a bit of time to himself. Now, with those impalas and wildebeest going on at the back there, I can hear the echo. The sound can travel far, and all the other animals nearby will know that these ones have seen a predator in this direction. Knowing hyenas, sometimes hyenas would listen to the sound of these alarms, try and come quickly to try and investigate and see if it might be a leopard on the hunt, in case there might be anything to eat or scavenge or steal and all that. So everybody reads all of that, and they put all the information together, and all the animals get to understand what is going on. And I can hear one of the Franklins is also joining the choir back there. Look at that, with the golden light shining on his face. A male lion is truly a beautiful animal. And I mean, at this time of the day when the sun just comes out, it just lights up on his face. You can see he's still looking back towards the direction where these impalas and all that are alarming at. It's also good so that he gets to see if there is anything that might be coming to investigate, because now that sound will alert, like I said, every other predator. But he's not really worried about hyenas and leopards and all that. male lions sometimes, if close by and they hear that, they would also come to try and investigate and see what these animals are alarming at. So it might happen that a big male lion comes in, which would be a problem for him, or the Ross males get here, which would also be a problem for him. So that's why he as well needs to look out. But from where he is, it's quite an open area. It's wide open, so it's easy to get to see anything coming from far. So I would not be surprised if he would pick up anything that we couldn't get to see or hear from a distance. Nathan, this male, you're asking if he's got a name and a story. Yes and no. So, yes, he does have a story. In fact, he's got an interesting story. A name, not so much. So out here, we try not to name the animals, especially lions, individually, rather the pride. So this young male was born from the Birmingham Pride. In fact, he is the last offspring of the previous dominant males before the Ross males came in. So he was born 2016 in the property around June inside the Timbawati riverbed. And I think he was a part of at least 9 cubs that were born from that litter. And out of the 9, 2 survived. 7 of them have died. And then the 2 that survived is him and another young female that's now part of the Birmingham Pride. She's got 2 cubs of her own that are over a year now and all that. The other 6 cubs, like I said, there was 9 of them. 6 of those 9 cubs died of mange, and this was because the dominant males that were dominant in this pride was, I think, 3 very large males. And having 3 big males, whenever the pride of females would make a kill, those males would go in first. So there was a lot of starving going around, and the cubs were not getting enough to eat. So 6 of those died of mange. And then the other one was caught in a fight between the pride. I think it was over a carcass, and then it died there. And then he and his sister have survived. And at that point, when the 2 of them survived, I think I watched them when they were about a year and a half, almost 2, and the Ross males moved in. They did not want this young male here. In fact, they wanted to kill them. The females of the Birmingham Pride were doing so well to help protect this young male. And in fact, I also seen those females go into what we call a fake ostrich, just to divert the attention of the males, while the other females take the cubs and run away with them. And it's been a battle ever since 2017, 2018, between the Ross male and this young male. I've seen him stand his ground between 2 Ross males when he was a lot younger than he is now. He's around 5, and when he was just about 2.5, 3, I've got videos of him fighting against the 2 males. It's just epic and crazy sightings. There have been occasions where the Ross males have given him a huge wound or very large injury, where we found him limping one of the other days. He's in fact got a permanent dislocation on his hip, and I can see he's also got another bite mark on his hip, which is more recent. So all of this happened in the past 5 years. It has not been easy for this young male, but I'm impressed that he has made it so far to 5 years. I mean, he's on his own. Whenever the Ross males are with the pride, he has to try and survive by himself. And whenever the Ross males aren't there, he tries to join the pride and all that. And now looking at him, he's quite a big male lion. And you can imagine with the females having cubs now of their own, new cubs, they try and keep him away from those small ones, not knowing if he's going to kill them, if he's going to do any harm onto them and all that. Or if the Ross males come back and he is within the pride with the cubs and they start a battle, any of those cubs could actually get caught up in the fight. So that's why the females will try and stay clear. And then the other sub-adults of the Birmingham Pride with the white ones and all the 2.5-year-olds, actually I've seen him spending a lot of time with them and all the older lionesses that don't have cubs at the moment. So he's had quite a tough life. and he's survived, and that shows that he's quite a tough young male lion, and his gene pool is actually from a very strong one at that. Looking at his size, when we saw him from a distance, I thought it was one of the Ross males. But when I got closer and I had a look, and I could see that it's actually that young male. Now, if you listen clearly, remember earlier on how much noise there was in the background with all the impalas and the wildebeest and the franklins going off. Now, all those animals have now stopped and they've moved further and further away from here. So it means that they no longer feel that threat. I think the wolves rather keep an eye on this side and see if he will start moving or get up to move, because they need to keep an eye on where this young male is. However, it looks like everything is starting to settle down for now, so we'll sit here, watch and wait and see what will happen next. In the meantime, we'll send you guys to Lauren.
Bear with me 2 secs, everyone. I'm on the radio.
6 meters here. Again north towards Matalia Road. Sorry, Leeward Road. The train is actually original guys. Just want to check on step by.
Oh, everyone's talking all at once. My goodness me. Sorry about that. They found some hyena action. And of course, definitely interested in that one. Talking of hyenas, I saw a very beautiful tribute online to Shambulu. And I thought, I'm going to read extremely beautiful words. So my fingers are slightly numb. I want to give you a beautiful view of the Scotia up there, and I'm going to read out this tribute because I read it out around the table last night to all the... Okay, Marcus, this is from you. Shambulu, even though you may be gone, you are not the only one. In hyena heaven where you stay, with other clan mates with whom you'll play. We wish it weren't, but it is true. Our lives feel empty without you. Watch over Ribbon, who is your mother, and make sure she takes care of your brother. You may be gone, but we'll remember how good you were a Djuma clan member. Goodbye, Shambulu, Asante Sana, for sharing your life with us. Isn't that lovely? Thank you, Marcus. We all read it last night and thought that was just beautiful that you took the time to do that. His life was short, but a wonderful one. And Ribbon and Ngwazi, I'm sure, will continue to thrive. So, Owen, let's bumble. If there are 5 Nisi, I would really like to try and get round there. They're mobile, so it's possible that I may not be able to catch up with them, but I'd like to see who it is and where they're going. What are they up to? 5 together. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going to get back on this Game Drive radio, and you guys are going to go back across to Rural.
So we're still sitting here with this one young male, and I can hear from a distance every now and again those wildebeest will still remind. If you guys remember, the alarm is not necessarily to let all the other animals know that they see a predator where they are, but rather to let this predator know that they have seen him. So in fact, what the impalas and the wildebeest were doing is making sure that the male lion, if he's thinking of hunting, he should know that those antelopes have already seen him. And therefore, and then everything else around gets to know that those have seen a lion, or those have seen a leopard, or those have seen wild dogs or cheetah, or whatever predator it might be in the area. So for now, I think this male lion is going to be lying down here. I don't think he's going to move unless the sun gets warm like it was yesterday afternoon. And then he might move to one of these little bushes around for shade. But for now, with the sun coming up, you can imagine how cold it might have been throughout the night. And while we were tucked in our blankets, air conditions and warm electric blankets and all that, he didn't have any of that, so he had to try and keep warm somehow. And now that the sun is coming out, I think he's going to enjoy having this little bit of warmth and energy after that very long, cold winter night. But he is a very massive young male lion, and he's huge. At the age that he's in, and he stands tall. And you look at the size of that head, is massive. See, in the direction that he just turned now, I'm hearing francolins alarming, like something startled them. I wouldn't be surprised if a hyena popped into the scene after hearing all that commotion with the impalas and wildebeest maybe coming for an investigation, or something else could have scared them. So he was just looking to see if he will see anything on that side. Michael, you're asking if we know where the raw smells are. At the moment, we don't. They could be anywhere. All I know is that last night or yesterday in the evening, late afternoon, they were with the other pride that we call the Birmingham Breakaway, with the youngsters at the head. But there were tracks of them this morning. They were moving in sort of this direction, but they changed, and no one has found them yet. So we've got absolutely no idea where they could have gone and all that. I'm hoping that they are somewhere within our property or anywhere close by. So hopefully we get to find them, because it would also mean that we keep an eye on where they are, get to see what happens, and if they will come across here. If you look, you can see there his mane starting to turn a little bit dark just above his head, which is also a sign of a very large and a very nice gene pool that is coming from. If you look on the side of his head there, just underneath his ear, you'll see the mane is a bit gold or blonde, but for now you can see the back of his head, that mane is starting to turn black. So I think we'll stay here for a while, and then in the meantime send you guys over to Lauren.
Look who we found. Chickadee, Batilda. Actually on the northern where her original nest is. Sitting... My goodness, that Eastern Channel is relentless. If Owen just zooms out a little bit, you'll see she's just above her nest. So she's still using it now and again, probably resting in it. It is a familiar safe spot and an easy place to rest. I wonder if you just sit long enough, the sun's starting to give a tiny little bit of warmth. My fingers are slowly regaining their function again. And maybe we'll start to see some wing stretches and flight from little Batilda here. Good morning, you beautiful thing. Definitely at the 3-month mark now, if not a little bit over. I think it's safe to say. And we have tried to follow this journey as much as we can from when we first spotted mom incubating. You can tell when a female's incubating. Sometimes the males also incubate. But you can tell when they're on a nest, and that's what they're doing. Adults won't use a nest. Birds don't use a nest. It's only for reproduction. It's only for breeding. And this chick is just huge in size, but definitely got a long way to go in terms of its development. It can fly, but the plumage is definitely going to change. From what I can see, Chickadee here has not really got full use of those talons yet. They're still a bit awkward looking. A lot of hunting skills to home in on. You're just too sweet, little one. Definitely knows who mom is and who dad is. And I imagine we will see them together under one tree from time to time. That's definitely possible. Batilda here's not going anywhere for a while. She's only just started to take to the skies. We were laughing the other day, Dobby and I. The flight was just wee, going round in circles. Almost like when a human child finally learns to walk and they just cannot stop walking. But flight's energetically costly for any bird, just like running is for us, moving is for us. So Batilda here will have to eat regularly, fuel that metabolism, keep warm, and have enough energy to fly. I really hope we'll be able to follow Mr. and Mrs. Wigg's journey as well. I don't see Mum and Dad around. But normally they are in the vicinity. And because battlers, like most raptors, are highly visual, they'll probably remain in visual contact with Batilda here. You'll be able to see him. Yes. Fluffy head here. Anna Marie, you are so correct. Too fast, I think. Far too fast. And it's interesting what Roel was saying about naming animals. There's a very sort of big debate out here because, of course, when incidents happen like Shimbulu, it's difficult. Nature's tough. You're going to see wonderful things, but you're also going to see things that are very hard to digest, literally. And on the other side, it's also very difficult to talk about them and narrate their story when you don't have a name. Using it feels wrong and slightly disrespectful to another living being. And when you take the Djuma clan, for example, how on earth do you sort of teach people about the Djuma clan when they're all just this hyena, that hyena with the funky ear, So it's a tricky one, but I think Chickadee or Batilda will need to decide. Just in order to tell their story, no matter how short their story is or how long their story is, it's important that we tell their story. And we've watched this little chick from day dot, really, and Anna Marie's right, too fast. I'm going to check on the African hockey gull nest today as well, and hopefully we'll get some sort of action up that side so we can watch the female and the male preparing the nest.
The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organisation. Every supporter is helping to change the only earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our earth.
I love being a camo for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back with John T and Daz, everyone. So we found something here I want to show you, but might not be for sensitive viewers. So it's actually a tortoise that's been eaten, and I'm assuming by a hyena, but I'm going to duck down here and have a look. So it's quite a big tortoise. You can see this bottom part here. This is the underside of the tortoise, and you can see that it's flat. So it's a big female leopard tortoise. If it was a male, this would be concaved. But it's ridiculous. I mean, this is so hard, this shell. And I would have thought this would have been big enough, actually, to survive. And the reason I think it's a hyena, they've got such a strong bite force. It's over 1,000 pounds per square inch that they can bite with. If you compare that to us, which ours is 126 pounds. So it is a ridiculous amount of bite force, and they must have managed to open this thing up. Shame. As you can see, this would have been the back side that would have fitted on like that, and they've just eaten everything out. I'm going to point at the foot here, Darren. Have you got the foot? Shame. You could see, I know it seems so weird, but look, it looks like a dinosaur's foot. Look at these, like the scaly skin, these long claws to help the tortoise get a bit of traction. But unfortunately, this one got eaten. I suppose that is what happens out there. It looks pretty fresh, actually, so they must have found this last night. Normally this time of year, the tortoises kind of slow down in their movements, and they go into what's called estivation. and these hyenas might have just found this one. I actually looked in this. I initially thought maybe it was in this hole, but it wasn't. This is just a hole that's been, looks like been dug by an aardvark at some stage, digging. But I don't know where they would have found this little tortoise, but to find it they did, and they had a good meal. So it's good for the hyena. And we're going to carry on. So we're in the same area as Lauren. We were very close to Twin Dams when they called in those hyenas. So we were also trying to find out what they are after, or if they're just having a morning wander around. So let's carry on up this road and see what we can see. But yeah, that is a big tortoise, so must be a big hyena that's managed to bite through that shell. But normally when they get to a certain size, then the hyenas can't get their jaws around it, and the tortoises will stay safe. It's amazing. You can't believe that foot though. Looks like a dinosaur's foot. Judy, I think they could. Like I said, it depends on the size of the tortoise. And also there were just for this one, there were hyena tracks on the road there. So that's why I'm guessing it was a hyena and no lion tracks. But I have seen lions playing with tortoises and actually eating them. So it is possible, but like I said, it really depends on the size. Even for lions, obviously their mouth is bigger than that of a hyena's, but if the tortoise is past that sort of size, I suppose it's like, imagine if you compare us to biting an apple or trying to bite a watermelon, you just can't get your mouth around it to apply that force. It can be quite brutal. We see these animals hunting and catching things all the time, but then when you don't think of a poor little tortoise that's just like cruising along, minding its own business at a very slow pace, and then now it gets captured by a hyena. I'm just going back. I don't know if we're going to get a gap through here, but there's an adult batalier in the morning sun. Can you get that, Dan? Do you see this tall tree? Yeah. Look down to the right, past it.
Okay.
We might have one small gap, but the colors looking very good. Oh, my binoculars, I've messed it up. No good.
That is our box between yourself and Tswalu. Yeah, let's surrender to join the sighting.
It is beautiful, huh?
I'd like to join the lineup for the montage, but I'm not copying the exact location.
So I'm just listening to the radio. It sounds like they've found wild dogs and Lauren's trying to get in the lineup. And I always laugh whenever wild dogs are called and the radio literally breaks. There was just 3 people trying to talk at the same time. We'll just enjoy this batalier, busy enjoying the morning sun. So because of the proximity to the nest, I would assume that this is one of the parents of Batilda. I wonder if Lauren's going to name the parents as well. Oh, that stick is stealing the focus. Do you want me to go forward a little bit? I'm just going to move. Oh, there we go. I'm just going to check where these guys are because I don't want to.
But yeah, we'll make space anyway.
I don't want to bump into them and ruin everything. So I'm just going to talk on the radio. Sorry, stations, my radio was down. Can you just confirm where that sighting is? I don't want to bump the sighting.
Yeah, it's going to sit at that side, close to
I'm just going in, so just one minute. Copied. Which direction are they heading? I'm on Leadwood Road at the moment. I can turn around and leave the area.
I'll let you know, Junty. It's just a vehicle from...
So we're just going to try and see what's happening with these dogs. You're going to head over to Rule.
Yeah, there are a lot of parts here, all of them. There are a lot of parts.
How beautiful is that young male? I think what's amazing is that all the animals out here, if you look and if you think about it, are of different colors and patterns and all that stuff. Every animal is given a certain type of coat or coloring that blends in with their preferred type of habitat. So the zebras are different colors compared to the giraffe, which are different colors compared to the leopards, which are different colors compared to the elephants, and so forth, and the lions and the hyenas and all that. And I kid you not, if you look at that young male where he is lying down right now, and think about it, his mane looks almost like the dead grass. The color of his body looks almost like the dead grass. And if we would zoom out a little bit and you would look maybe from a distance, coming from far, you'd see how his color blends in with where he is so well. If you're coming from far, you might not see him until you are very close. And funny, we were just talking about like how far you would have to be before he would charge or react or do anything like that. Look at that. From there, it just looks like a lump of grass. Like you wouldn't even notice that there is a lion until he raises his head up. And coming from a different angle, it might even look worse than it does here. It might even look more like a tuft of grass, maybe a very dense thicket or something like that. It's amazing how they blend in. And from where he is, if somebody would be walking here, that young male, I think the first thing he would do, because he would hear the footsteps of that person from far, just lift up the head, look, hoping that when his head is up, you'd see him. And if you keep approaching and getting closer and closer, then you'd get a little bit of a growl, because if you can't see him, hoping that you would hear the growl as the warning. And if you can't hear and see any of that, most likely he will get up, exposing himself so that you can actually get to see him from far. But all of those are just means and ways for this animal to communicate. And once he's gotten up and you can see that this person or this thing keeps coming, he might either retreat or attack. But in most of the times, they just move out of the way, gain that distance, and then where they're comfortable with us being in. But when you're in a vehicle, it's a little bit of a different story because these animals are quite comfortable and relaxed around vehicles. But I'm just impressed at how, even from this distance, he really looks like part of the grass, part of where he is, and that color helps him. Like I'm thinking now, if we're driving, because the road is not too far from here, we could easily drive past him from the road without even realizing that there is a lion lying down somewhere there. And are you asking if old males always have black in the mane? Yes. Essentially, the mane does turn black and gets darker and darker the older they get. The only difference is it depends on the type of gene pool that one male is from. And the stronger the gene pool, the quicker the mane turns black. I guess it's like any other young boy where we start getting beard, and some people get beard a lot earlier in their lives, and some people get it later in their life, and some people have got extremely large beards, and some people have got very little, and all those sort of things, depending on which gene pool you are coming from, or which family that animal is coming from. So the mane is sort of similar, and the older he gets as well, his mane is going to keep getting darker, and the bigger he gets. Some males even have mane on their elbows, and some underneath their belly, and all that, just depending on the gene pool, and all that mane gets darker and darker. And sometimes depending on how strong that gene pool is. So we get to see that. But eventually the mane turns black. And I can give you an example with the Ross males. When they started dominating this property, both of them had blonde mane. And both of them had a blonde mane, and what happened was, after a while, one of them, his mane started turning black, and now the other one's mane is still a little bit blonde, and the other Ross male has got proper dark mane. And I can see the other one who was more blonde, his mane is also starting to turn dark, which means he's also going to get that black mane, but it just took a little bit longer for him than his other brother. So eventually it does turn black, yes, but it just depends, and the period is not the same. It takes longer on some males, and it happens a lot quicker on some other males. Oh, there we go, look at that. You see, his hearing is incredible. I don't know what he heard, because his eyes were tucked there. I'm sure he might have heard something that got his attention, and he just lifted his head up to try and see if he'll see. And at this time, the sun is starting to warm up, and I think the cold is dropping, the cold wind is dropping, and I can feel it's a little bit chillier than it was when we were here earlier on. I think that's why he's tucked his head a little bit, trying to keep as warm as he can. I can only imagine what the night has been like for him, what influenced his movements, what sort of trouble did he get into, did he encounter any dangerous or threatening animals, did he encounter anything worthwhile, did he try and hunt during the night, all of those stuff. It's only a mystery to us. Sometimes we get to unfold all of that when we find tracks and interpret all of that, and sometimes we find them on carcasses, but it doesn't look like he's fed from last night, doesn't have a tinge of blood on his face, but only God knows what he's been through throughout the night. Did he get into a fight? Maybe not, because earlier on he was vocalizing. I don't know if he was trying to contact the rest of the Pride members. So, Baila, you're asking if it's possible to make lions that have been raised in captivity and then introduced into the wild and survive. I'm not really sure, but what I think, it will depend on where that lion in captivity was raised, how much relevant or related was the area to the wild area that is going to be introduced in. For example, if that animal was kept in a zoo with walls and paintings and all that stuff, it's going to be a little bit difficult for that animal to adapt in this side. Another thing, if that one lion was raised hand-fed, or did they try and get his instincts to work, his hunting instincts, and that animal's natural instincts of hunting and all those elements. Sometimes these animals get fed and brought in steaks and all that. It's going to be difficult out here where it's going to starve. Or was that animal ever introduced to any wildlife or anything like that? Is anything going to seem strange? I think it's going to be difficult, to be honest. Also, depending on how old that animal is. Like, if it's been in captivity for years and all that animal knows is that lifestyle, and all of a sudden having to come down here and change everything else to be completely upside down. So I think it's going to be very difficult, and the chances of that animal surviving are actually slim. Although I would not put it past a wild animal where instincts kick in at an early age. You would be surprised. I do think maybe one or two might survive, but I just think that it's going to be very, very difficult for that animal to cope and survive after such a big change. But I think that's rather an interesting subject. All right, I think let's move out of here. Let's leave this young male here. I don't think he's going to move anywhere. Now the sun is starting to warm up. We're going to carry on with the plan for this morning. Head down towards street, try and see if we can find the rest of the Birmingham Pride. So for now, I'll send you guys back to Lauren.
Looks like I'm not the only one who's trying to keep warm this morning. Got 3 little sausages here. Oh, bless me, sorry. Also trying to keep warm. I don't know what pack this is. We don't get the sort of pack names called in. So all you wild doggy people, especially you, Mr. James Richard, please try to help us out a little bit by IDing the pack for us. Now, we're on the fire break, and we have been burning here in the Sabi sands, and some of you might notice that from the vegetation it looks burnt. It is burnt. Fire is used as a conservation management tool out here, and it may sound a little bit strange at first. Look at this one. But all in all, it's for a number of different reasons. Now here in winter, the vegetation becomes so dry. The reason they burn around the fire breaks, that's why we have the road that's called the fire break, is to stop fire spreading. So let's just say on Djuma, it's a small little property, 1,200 hectares, there's a fire and it rapidly spreads because all the vegetation is dry. In summer it's wet, it's moist, there's lots of water. But in winter it's completely dry, so that fire will spread rapidly, especially if there's wind. If the fire then blows east, where we are right now, we're on Cheetah Cut Line. The fire blows east and meets this burnt area. Look at it, look at the topography, look at the soil. Owen was giving you a nice view. It's all burnt down. That will stop the spread of the fire. There's nothing left to burn. So it'll stop that fire burning east all the way into Torchwood and then going further east into the Kruger. So the fire break literally breaks the fire, especially out here in the northern sector of the Sabi Sands. It's also used to burn off sort of unpalatable, moribund vegetation, which, if not removed, could potentially smother an area. So it's also used as a conservation technique with the vegetation. It's used to control sort of the encroachment of any undesirable plants in an area. Now, this will differ depending on the habitat. It's very habitat specific. Look at this one. Owen's having a good old back scratch. Look at that. Love it when dogs do this. Oh, that looked like it felt so good. Was that good? Oh, no, we're going to keep going. And just to wrap up that thought, because I know many of you will be, oh, what are you guys up to? Oh, look at them, look at them. They're all running to greet each other, Owen. Look at this. Can you hear them? They're all very happy to see one another. Squeak, squeak. This is so lovely. Christy, I imagine they will have already had food already. I mean, it's almost 8 a.m. here. They get up early and the first thing they'll want to do is eat, but I think they'll hunt again. Their bellies are not full. And of course it's cold. Lots of mouths to feed, lots of bellies to fill. I think they have had something. I don't see any blood. It's normally a good sign. They'll have blood on their face. They're just playing this now. This is so cute. Animals is quite a broad term. When you say animals, it includes absolutely every living creature, but generally speaking, yes. And in dogs, absolutely. They will use their tail to communicate to one another, body language, and normally communicates their mood. I mean, especially in leopards, when that tail's twitching, they're not happy. Elephants, when that tail goes erect and very straight, they're not happy. So generally speaking, yes, tails are used to communicate their mood and how they're feeling, especially in dogs. As well as follow me signs and so many other reasons to protect the genitalia. But yes, communication, number one. To get rid of some vegetation, control encroachment and stimulate out-of-season growth, and of course to prevent fire spread. And I just want to touch on that because you will see that it has been burnt, but you can see we had Kochava on the fire break yesterday and now we've got wild dogs on the fire break, so it doesn't affect these animals in any way, shape or form. It's a conservation control technique. And there's different types of fires as well. You get head fires, back fires, cold fires, hot fires, and they all have sort of different functions. And at the end of the day, they are controlled. And you can see the wild dogs are playing literally on the fire break. It's not affecting them or changing their movements in any way, shape or form. And it's not big, huge blazing fires. It's very small, controlled fires. starting to get warm as well. It's like they're playing tag, you're it. Grant, they do make a lot of different sounds. Their most iconic sound is the hoo-hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo. That's their most sort of iconic wild dog sound, but they can make a barky vocalization, but it's not quite like a domestic dog, but they absolutely can. Hoo-hoo is their sort of communication call between pack members. But if they're feeling threatened, I've actually had wild dogs on foot quite a number of times. They can bark or make a sort of rough, guttural throat sound. But they have a wide range of vocalizations. You can hear the squeak, squeak, squittery sound that they're making now. FC, have any pack IDs came through yet? No IDs just yet. Kerry, I really haven't seen fighting within the pack. Wild dog packs show very little aggression. Sometimes puppies can be scolded and there'll maybe be a little bit of a scuffle, but very, very little aggression within wild dog packs, especially compared to lionesses in a pride and hyenas in a clan. Very little aggression. And that's because life is pack and pack is life. They can't survive without their social dynamics. And that's what that was all about. Play, engaging, social bonds. There's a really lovely scene in front of us right now. Very, very little aggression. I've not seen any aggression. Wild dogs are very, very special animals. James Richard, you're saying this is the Pungwe pack. This is fascinating. I know that Johnsy had a chat with one of the wild dog experts in the area called Grant yesterday, and he's saying the Pungwe pack no longer exists. I wonder if this is some sort of breakaway pack. Sorry, Jared, I missed that last update. James, you're saying it's the Pungwe pack pups with the other dogs. Okay, that makes more sense rather than the Pungwe pack. The Pungwe pack pups. P. My goodness, they're getting big, that's for sure. I remember when we first got them live. Oh, that was such a good drive. My first wild dog puppy live. I think they're going to get mobile now. If they do head east into Torchwood, sadly I won't follow. We can't follow. Well, we can, but our signal will be a bit hairy. But it would be really good if they decide to come west to Djuma. Come to Djuma, guys. Wild dogs are quite easy to walk on foot as well. Some of them can be very curious, very interested in what on earth you are. I've had some wonderful, was that not with you, Owen? We had wild dogs on foot.
Yeah.
I think it was long ago when Owen was at Djuma. I remember Morris just saying, Madash, Madash, Madash. I miss our bushwalks. And some wonderful bushwalks in Djuma. You're not going to run away, that's good. One day at a time, yes, when they're denning. That's only for about 3 months of the year. They become sedentary. When they're denning, one of the adults will be the babysitter. And it's not always the same adult. They'll take it in turns. But absolutely, someone stays at the den to either be the babysitter or the security guard or just the general all-rounder looker after of the den site. Yes. They do split that role between them, 100%. But right now, no. Once they become mobile, once they leave the den site, it's a completely different sort of movement for the dogs. And they're not territorial, they're nomadic, they're the vagabonds, so they'll just run wherever they please. And then there's not really a babysitter. But to be honest, BK and I had probably my favourite wild dog sighting to date at Chitwa. Some of you will remember that. It was with the Pungwe pack. And one of the adults killed an impala, dipped its nose in, so the whole entire snout was covered in blood, ran back to all, I think it was 11 puppies, to say to the puppies, I've got your dinner. Smell me, follow me. And of course the puppies can smell the blood on the snout and all came running across Chitwa Oping. Vroom, 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 one by one. And it was the most incredible sighting. So all the adults, even when they're mobile and they're no longer sort of bound to the den, will look after the pups. Pups come first. They're the most important thing about the pack. They'll all help the pups, they'll all look after the pups, they'll all guard the pups, teach the pups, kill for the pups. So yes, all the adults are very much invested in the pups, and that's because it's only one pair, the alpha pair, that breed. So effectively, they're all reproducing by proxy. They're all investing in the alpha pair's bloodline. It's a big investment. Maybe they're not going to get mobile. That's jolly good. I'm more than happy to sit here, basking in the sun. The others have gone flat over there as well. Oh, and do you see them? They're all now taking a little snooze.
WildEarth knows it is critical to help as many young people as possible to connect with the natural world. We hope that by bringing the wilderness to our future conservationists, we will inspire a love for nature and perhaps plant a seed which will flourish in the future. Over the years, kids from countries all over the world have joined us on safari.
I really enjoyed learning about the leopards and the cubs and how they hunt and live.
We got to see different types of antelopes, and we also saw our male lion's tracks.
I got to learn about like different types of animals in their natural habitats.
It was like we were on a real safari, so it was kind of cool. We got to see a lot of unique animals.
That whole safari live video just inspired me to fulfill my dream of becoming a safari guide as well.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, WildEarth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So WildEarth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live.
So we've just rushed to Djuma Dam. There were reports from the dam cam that there were monkeys alarm calling in this area, and we've been fortunate to spot two jackal. Do you see the one at the back there, Darren? Oh, it's trotting away from us now. Two black-backed jackals. They're just trotting around here, but the monkeys have gone quiet. So we know Darkman was here earlier on the dam cam. I've seen his tracks now, so we're going to do a loop around. Yeah, here you go. So this pair of jackals just trotting around here, sniffing around. They'll sometimes also go and like sort of investigate if they hear alarm calls or something, just because they'll see maybe there's a chance of them getting a free little snack. But let's go up onto the wall. We're actually going to drive around and go check Gallagher Pan. But it's tough. You always want to, we did drive here at breakneck speed. You want to try and get to the place so you can, one, hear the monkey. Give you a great indication of where, whatever it is they're shouting at, the direction they're looking. We don't have that luxury today, so we're going to have to just sniff around here a little bit and see what we can find. So to Darren, well, we've done this loop, Djuma Dam, Gallagher Pan, back to Vuatila Access so many times the last few days checking. I'm pretty sure Rusty could do the route by himself without us even doing anything. So I can't see anything in the open area there. And when we came back, we came through quarantine. So we kind of had a brief look, but we just wanted to get down around the dam, like I said, see if we could see the monkeys. While we keep scratching around here, you're going to head over to JP on Bushwalk.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We're fairly close to an elephant bull at the moment, so that's why we're whispering. It's very likely that he can detect us by means of hearing, but at the moment the wind is in our favor and it's actually carrying my voice away from him, as well as he can't smell us at this moment. We also have very bright sunlight behind us, and we're standing in such a position just behind a tree where it's unlikely for him to spot us at this moment. So one of the things that we always take in consideration is that that wind can change very rapidly. And then we know that we must move out so that we're not detected by means of smell. This guy has just been feeding away while we've been watching him. You'll watch him propping more and more food into the mouth. You'll actually see how he's actually taking those twigs and pulling it through the molar teeth, stripping the outer layer of the bark off. Actually, what he's just after is the inner layer of the bark where all the nutrients is, and then that branch will be discarded because the inner part of that has got no nutritional value, and it's most likely that he won't be able to digest it. In general, elephants have got very poor digestive systems, and they can only absorb some 40% of what they eat. That's one of the reasons why they have to continuously eat throughout the day. And they're also incredibly large animals, so therefore they have to support themselves with large amounts of food, up to 300 kilograms of food that they can feed on in a single day. However, with cows, it's slightly less. Bulls, their diet includes a way larger amount of food. It's going to see what he gets up to. Quite often when we watch them and they're aware of us, they'll pretend to eat, but this guy is continuously eating. Some of the things that we also often see is that they will move trees that has previously fallen over so that they can get to the vegetation that's underneath it. At the moment, this just looks like a tree that's recently been pushed off, and he's still looking for some nutritious parts on that tree. In general, we find that animals have to eat way more in the winter months because the food quality in general is also lower than in the summer months. Now, if you are a browser and a grazer, which we can refer to as mixed feeders, you've got the benefits of both worlds. You can bulk up on grass as well as on leaf material. If you're strictly a grazing species, it becomes a little bit harder, and you also have to spend more time in trying to fuel yourself during the winter months when the grasses have an incredibly low quality nutritional value. I also find it quite interesting that a lot of animals will actually feed at night time when there's not a sufficient amount of moisture in the winter, and they'll get that moisture then from the grasses which they feed on at the night time. There's some statistics that claim that some grass, that even if it's dry and dead, can reabsorb some 20 to 40% moisture at night. For me, it's an absolute privilege to be able to work on foot and to get so close to these amazing animals and just to view them in their natural habitat. And every day when I get out here, I just try and see what they do. And when we're viewing them and they're not aware of a vehicle, their behavior is totally different compared to that when we'll view them fine. And you actually get a true feel for what their behavior patterns are like, especially if they're not aware of you at all. I'm sure this guy will go down towards the dam a little bit later on today. Good morning, Neil, and welcome to the show. Yes, it is an incredibly big elephant. If I have to take a guess, it's probably somewhere by 4,500 kilograms in weight. They've got the potential of reaching up to 6,000 kilograms. However, there's some records that goes up to 10,000 kilograms, especially if you go and look at records from northern Namibia and Angola. And as far as I remember, one of the largest elephants still today, stands in front of the Smithsonian Museum in the States, and that was believed to be some 10,000 kilograms. This specific elephant had a shoulder height over 4 meters, where we find that the shoulder height is more typically that of 3 meters. Cows, they can weigh anywhere between 3,000 and 4,500 kilograms in weight. But just like human beings, they also come in all sizes and shapes. And age is not always an indication of the physical size of the animal. If I have to take a guess, this one is probably around about 20 to 25 years of age. And then meanwhile, we're going to send you over to Lauren, who's got a sighting with wild dogs.
dogs are all sleeping. They probably have fed, so they've got full tummies, not too full. Wild dogs' tummies get a lot bigger than that, and they're just relishing the sun. It's probably been such a cold night for all the animals out here, and they're just enjoying the warmth of the rays. It really is starting to get a little bit warmer now, which is lovely. And this is definitely the cutest one over here. Oh, and look at that next to the fallen over log. Huh? Oh, sound asleep. But just touching on breeding again, I have mentioned this in the past, but I think it's so fascinating that you have an alpha pair, an alpha male, and an alpha female that are the only ones that make a breeding effort. How is that possible? Think about it. Every living being, or most living beings, reproduce, procreate, especially in the animal. I'm talking about the animal kingdom. That's the drive, reproduction. So how on earth do you have males in a pack and females in a pack that don't mate, that don't reproduce? How is that possible? They're all fertile. Many studies have been done. Even if you're not the alpha pair, you're fertile. So what is suppressing them from coming into full estrus and mating with other males? Sometimes the beta pair can do it. And if the beta pair produce offspring, there's some incidents where the pups are killed, some incidents where they're actually not. They just let the puppies be part of the pack. So it really does depend on the pack. But the study showed that the reproductive suppression of any individual that's not the alpha pair occurs at a behavioral level. Can you believe that? Behavioral level. The behavior of the alpha pair controls the reproductive suppression of all individuals below them. Now that is absolutely phenomenal. There's sort of lots of studies looking into if there are secondary effects. Maybe there's hormone-induced cues that the alpha pair are giving, or pheromone-induced cues that are suppressing the others, but it's said to be at a behavioral level. The behavior of the alpha pair suppresses the other's reproduction. That's just incredible to me. And again, that strengthens that point about everyone in the pack is involved in raising the offspring of the alpha pair. They're reproducing by proxy. And that's why the dynamics within the pack are so important. So if a pack is decimated or split, or humans kill some of the pack members or predators kill some of the pack members, it's very detrimental to the dogs. Many of you are saying it's so nice to spend so long with them. I was just thinking that. It's a very peaceful sighting. The sun is shining. Because as you know, wild dog sightings can get very hairy out here. They're extremely mobile animals that cover great distances in short time. So it's not so easy to always keep up with them. And it's nice just to watch them snooze, watch them interact. Africa's second most endangered carnivore. You can hear all the sounds of the birds as well. Generally wild dogs are incredibly stinky. They have a really strong urine smell, but right now, I'm going to be honest with you, I can't smell them. I can only smell the sort of smell of the fire. It smells like there's been a bonfire. That's all I can smell right now. But generally, wild dogs are very stinky, lovely, graceful, stunning animals with such a beautiful sort of mottled coat pattern. But my goodness, they're smelly. These other ones over here are getting very active. You see that one on the left next to the vehicles? They're starting to get really mobile. I think they're going to come this way, so I'm not going to bother moving right now. I think they're going to come and try and wake up the others. Here they come. I knew they would come over. We'll say, wake up everybody. We're hungry. Oh, look at that. They just woke up that one that was sleeping. You see, they've all got their tails up. I'm just staying quiet so you can listen to the amazing sounds happening right now. So wonderful. They're all starting to get very mobile, so we're just going to sit tight here and see what they do. Just sitting here with a pack of wild dogs that are making the most incredible sounds. So we're just going to sit here. Enjoy every single moment. Isn't that wonderful? They've all settled down again. That means that we can at least spend a lot more time with them.
We managed to find some elephants. We didn't hear the vervet monkeys alarming anymore. But what a treat. In coming to this area, we now get to spend some time with some elephants, and this little one has been providing us with some good entertainment. Oh, the sun's getting warm, eh? Just put a bit of sunscreen on. Look at that. And to hold their trunk up like that, they're testing the air, smelling. See if they can smell that. Now it's playing like hide and seek. I know the view's not great now, but we'll just wait because there we go. They've been moving around, so they move it. Come on, poke your head out. You might be able to get the one a bit further back. Oh, those little tusks are really cute, eh? I want to see it poke its head out. I can't even hear if it's eating in there, if it's just thrashing around in the branches. I know it is chewing there, it's chewing the bark off. With a couple of bigger ones moving through, we might get a really nice view shortly. They're just loving the bark off of that bush willow. It really is. We're just getting some comments that people are finding watching elephants therapeutic. I agree. That's why I try not. I don't want to talk too much. It's so great just to watch them being elephants and just taking it all in. You can see how the stick coming out the left side of this one's mouth. It's coming out without any bark on it. It's like it's pushed it through a mill, a factory. It goes in with bark, comes out without bark. Look how carefully it's walking over his dead branches. Amazing, such a big animal, they can move so gently. See, this one's thinking about coming to say hello to us. See how it's smelling there? You can always tell they're going to be doing something. Whenever elephants aren't eating, then they're thinking. And this one is busy thinking. Should it carry on and enjoy some food, or must it do some sort of showing off to us? Stanley, it can be tricky to do that because each elephant, some have bigger tusks than others, but they say you should start, it depends again which textbook you kind of look at, but some of them say that you might start seeing the tips of the tusks at around 2 years, might see that. And then when they it's hard, some books say when they're like sort of 2 inches long, that'll be 4 or 5 years old. But if you look at this little one that was hiding behind the bush, I would have said that looks like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old elephant. And the tusks are quite long already. So I think you might be better to go on sort of body size in relation to the adults. That might be a better way of doing it than just using the tusks. Look at this big lady. She is beautiful. Oh, you can hear how hard that stick is in her mouth. She's being a lot more gentle with it, crushing it up with those massive molars. Spoiled too. So if you look at her tusks, I don't know if you can zoom in on her tusk, but her right tusk is the one that's more worn. So I'm sure other guides have mentioned it before, but they are left or right tusked. They'll use one more than the other. And there's also a theory that they'll also, I don't know if the right term is right trunked or left trunked, but they learn, because there's so many muscles in that trunk, they'll learn to turn it one way really well. And I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that theory, just based on what I've seen, but I'm always watching to see. But what they say is you'll always see the elephant will always wrap its trunk the same way around branches or around grass. So it's hard to see her doing it now. But they definitely will use one tusk more than the other. And just always look out, sometimes you get a thing called a grass notch, where at the tip of the tusk, where they constantly break grass, it actually, or grass and branches and sticks, it wears a notch into the end of the tusk. And sometimes it's really, really prominent. One of the elephants is doing a bit of a rumble behind us. I love that sound. So that young elephant that Darren's focusing on there, you see, that should be of a size where you should see tusks already. So perhaps that's a cow that's, or an elephant that's not going to have tusks. They do have, I mean, their mouths are obviously very well adapted for what they eat. Look at the little one. And their skin is very thick. So I don't know if it's necessarily thicker in their mouth or around their mouth than the rest of their body, but it certainly is designed to be able to withstand, you know, whatever sort of vegetation they're putting in their mouth. That little one just chased a drongo away. I'm interested to see what this little one does when it gets onto the road. If it will turn and try and terrify us off with its incredible size. Earth lover, it's obviously the base of the tusk, and there is a nerve. I just watch them walk across the road. There is a nerve that goes down in the center of the tusk that obviously provides blood in there, which helps from growth from the base. So it definitely will, in the tip of the tusk, they're not going to feel pain, but at the base they will. So it depends how much force they put on it. I've seen elephant bulls, when they've been fighting, break off pieces of their tusk. Sometimes the tip will break off and they don't seem to react, but then sometimes if it breaks very close to the base, you'll see it. I've seen it shoot blood out of the base, so that can't be pleasant. Sometimes they'll get abscesses at the base of their tusks as well, and then those sort of elephants can become very irritable, because it's like us having a very bad toothache. What a treat to have them so close to the car. Now they're just feeding off, which is so awesome. Mariana, the giraffe, her teeth are between the back legs. So elephants are the only other animals out here, the big mammals that we'll see with the mammary glands sort of between the front legs. The giraffe, it's between the back legs. That's a good question, though. We're going to leave that herd of elephants to just carry on. I think we were so spoilt to spend so much time with them so close by, and they've moved off on their own, and that's always the nicest way to leave it. We don't want to keep putting pressure on them. And we're going to carry on up this road. Now that we are in this area, it's worth having a look to see if Tabangumi has left some tracks for us. Or him or any other leopard, actually, would be nice to see. So while we keep checking along here, you're going to head back to Lauren, who's still with the wild dogs. Well.
Good luck, Jonty. Jonty really loves Tabangumi. Got a special bond with that boy. I think we're all hoping he stays around. Nobody wants him to disappear, that's for sure. And he has taken the most predictable route, every single day. So hopefully Jonty can locate him. Our dogs are fast asleep and it's just so endearing. This looks like my beagle. My beagle's also tricolored, tan, black and white, but not slim like this in any way, shape or form. She's rather rotund. I hope she's not listening. So not in that way. Definitely a different physique, but they just look like domestic dogs, and of course they're not. Both related to the sort of wolf many, many years ago, millions of years ago. They're both canids, but not at all closely related to domestic dogs, and they cannot interbreed. If you come across the Ethiopian wolf, as many of you know, I've spent a lot of time with the Ethiopian wolf, they can breed with dogs, and that's a huge problem to their species because they can actually produce a viable, fertile offspring, which will be a mix between a domestic dog and an Ethiopian wolf. It becomes a hybrid, and this is threatening the genetic integrity of the Ethiopian wolf. However, African wild dogs cannot do that. They cannot breed with domestic dogs. Every single one of them are what we would call Lala pansy. Fast asleep. Murphy, you're saying, oh, the cutest babies. I know, they're terribly cute. But you know, a lot of people think that lions sleep all day. And they have this awful reputation for just being the laziest in the bush. But actually, if you think about how much a wild dog sleeps, they also sleep a lot. They'll sleep all night because they're diurnal. Unless there's sort of full moon, they really do go down for the night. It's not safe for them to be moving and mobile and vocal throughout the night. And they're very active as the sun rises. They'll hunt, they'll move, they'll play, they'll engage, they'll call, they'll run. But then once that sun gets high in the sky, especially in summer when it becomes extremely hot, they'll go flat again, they'll sleep, and they'll only get active once that sun is slowly starting to set. So they're quite the sleepy dogs, shall we say. And they are known to have one of the most successful hunting rates out here. Sometimes it's thought that possibly we overestimate how successful they actually are. They definitely succeed more than they fail. But you know, this sort of high estimate of around 85% is thought to sometimes be a possible overestimation. But anyway, anywhere between 70 and 80% is thought to be right. But of course, statistics rely on so many variables, and that's what we actually forget about. It depends on the size of the pack itself. How many dogs do you have? The terrain, the topography of the area, the habitat. Where are you? Are we in the sands? Are we in the Masai Mara? Are we talking about Tswalu? And then, of course, it will refer to the density of prey. That's going to make a massive difference. Is it easy to catch an impala, or is it really extremely difficult because the prey populations are low? So although we give statistics, we give figures, it really does depend on a whole lot of factors. And that's the same with anything, not just wild dogs. The cup mortality rate here is different for leopards and lions than it is in the Serengeti and the Mara. So we sort of just average it out. The threats are normally still the same, but statistics are difficult because there's so many factors at play. And even their hunting ranges, that will differ depending on the density of the predators themselves and other predators. So hunting ranges can be huge, between 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers square. And of course they hunt by coursing, so they run. It's not a territory, it's just a hunting range. And unlike the other predators, they have endurance, remarkable stamina. They can keep up speeds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour for long periods of time, several kilometers. Whereas a lion and a leopard can't do that. A cheetah also can't do that. They run, well, they're the fastest, but they can't sustain it for too long. Hyenas also. They've got more endurance than the cats, but hyenas also don't have the remarkable stamina that wild dogs do. alpha pair is killed, normally the beta pair, normally there's always a beta pair, those sort of next ones in line, if you like, will then become the transference, they will become the alpha pair if the alpha pair is killed. Sometimes the beta pair can mate, and naturally, because they're fertile, they will produce viable offspring. It's always thought that the alpha pair would kill the beta pair's offspring, but that's not necessarily the case. There's lots of examples where the beta pair's offspring have just been accepted into the pack, those pups. But generally, the beta pair will then step up and replace the alpha pair and lead the pack. We're going to sit here and watch our sleepy doggies snooze. We're still sitting here watching our dogs. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I'm going to make sure that you all enjoy this too by just sitting, watching, and listening to the sounds of the bush. It's time to get active. Normally when one starts, they all do. Sleeping no more.
Well, there we go, everybody. We have managed to find parts of the Birmingham Pride, and you can see there that young white male lion is feeding on what looks to be an elephant carcass. Since we've been here, I've counted at least 6 or 7 members. Not entirely sure how many of these animals are here altogether, just because it's quite thick and they're spread out. Do you guys hear the sound of the bones that this young male is going through? It's unbelievable, the strength already on his jaw. And it looks like all the other lions are just scattered and lying down everywhere else. And that little bit of movement that is doing now, especially on that spinal cord, is shaking that carcass. And the smell that we're getting here is not pleasant, but it is worth it. It's one of the few times you get to see lions feeding on an elephant carcass. So far, we're not sure what happened to the elephant. It could have been the result of bulls fighting, and this bull might have got the bitter end of the fight. It could have been an illness that could have caused this elephant to die out here. It's also possible that lions do hunt elephant, but in Ngala, I have never seen or known the Birmingham Pride to hunt elephant. So I'm thinking that when the lions got here, they found this elephant dead. You can see he's trying to get between the spinal cord and the skin there. I'm thinking there might be a lot of meat still in there, and I think he's found a gap, our way to access all of that. And you can see it looks like they managed to open the skin of this elephant from the stomach towards the hind legs there, where the skin is a lot thinner. Look at that. I think he's just trying to get as much as he can. If male lions pop out here, it's going to be the end of the meal. If this meat goes off and it rots, these lions are going to have to move. He's trying to get as much as he can while this meat is still fresh. Not sure if you guys can see us, but he's a little bit more dirty than he normally would be. Look at the paw there. Doesn't look white anymore. They've been feeding here at least for the past day or two, and it's been epic, and every time we come here we've seen them feeding on here, and some of them lying down, taking turns to come and feed. Jason, you're asking if lions, if they can break through the skin of an elephant. At the back of an elephant, the skin there, I think, is a lot more thicker than it is on the stomach. It's thin. So underneath the stomach of an elephant, where the skin is thinner, yes, I think they can break through. But on the back of an elephant, where the skin is a lot more tougher, I think that would be a lot more difficult for them to break through. Even though they can break through it, slowly just keep nibbling and biting and chewing on it. Eventually they'll be able to tear open there. Let's not also undermine the strength of their jaw when they have that little bite to tear the things. Look at him now with the foot. Just deciding to get out of all that commotion, or maybe we'll get this other lions coming in to feed now, but he has grabbed that one leg and there's no meat left except on the foot, and then he's taking it behind a thick bush. And you can see there we have one of the old Birmingham lionesses. here where he pulled that little leg there. Some of the lions might have been interested to go there and try and feed, and there was that bit of a confrontation between the two. I think another one of these old lionesses also coming back to feed. And if you look behind the bushes where those two lionesses are, you'll see the second white young lioness is there as well. Just behind there, the trees there. It's amazing how, when that young male was feeding, most of these lions were far from the carcass. It's almost as if he was dominating here, but I think it's also because most of these lions have had too much to eat. They just didn't want any part of the commotion happening. Are you asking if these elephant was sick and the lions eat the meat, would that then affect their health? I think so, yes. Like raw meat that carries a lot of viruses and diseases, often that gets passed from one species to the next. I'm not sure how badly, though, it would affect them, being a completely different species, and depending on how severe that sickness might have been. It might happen that the lion's immune system is able to fight off the virus, or sometimes it might happen that that lion as well is not able to fight it off. But I do think and believe that it does affect their health.
This is Jake Whitener, all the way from the US, and he is a holder of the Ticket to Dream.
I decided to support and buy the Ticket to Dream to help WildEarth in its mission of conservancy towards animals and the environment.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
And I would highly recommend that people would be involved in that program.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
Ever since I was able to get the Ticket to Dream, I've been looking forward to coming on this drive. It is an absolutely fabulous experience, and it's great.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
We got up, we had a play, but we're back down again. Now, one thing we get asked a lot about here is sneezing. Do wild dogs sneeze to communicate? And there is actually a study published on this. And I actually saved the name for you, because when you Google it, you need to get the name of the article right. And it's something to sneeze about. Democratic voting in African wild dog packs from 2017. If you put that into Google Scholar, you'll definitely be able to find it. And if you are looking for a tool, if any of you enjoy reading papers, but it's obviously tricky to find free ones, sciencedaily.com is fantastic. You just put in the search box whatever you're looking for. You can put elephant, rhino, wild dogs, hyena, whatever. And it will bring up all the literature that you can read on that. And it's really quite spectacular. So something to sneeze about, democratic voting in African wild dogs packs. Thank you, Owen. There you go. You can check it out. That's the name of the article right there. And basically, it goes quite into depth about sneezing, and that's where it came from. It's a study done in Botswana. And basically, the research states that when dogs are greeting one another, they actually call this social rallies. That's the name. It's not really a greeting ceremony. We tend to use that for hyenas. And when they're sort of getting together, one researcher noticed they were sneezing. And it wasn't just random sneezing. It didn't appear to be the fact that they were just clearing their airways or, achoo. It seemed to be there was a reason behind it. And the study said that basically the more sneezing that occurred between the pack members, the more likely it was that the pack would then get up and start hunting. So the sneezing was almost like a cue, especially when the dominant male and female, the alpha pair, were involved. And when the alpha pair were involved and they sneeze, a few others sneeze, it's almost like a decision. It's time to go. And we get asked a lot about that here. I have to say I've never personally noticed it. But this is a study that actually goes into detail, and that's where it came from. They also note that if the dominant pair were not engaged in the sort of sneezing or the round of sneezes, then they would need more. It's almost like a voting system. Achoo! Hey guys, want to go and hunt? Achoo! Yes. Achoo! Yes. Achoo! Yes. And the more sneezes, then that means they're going to go off and hunt. And that's where the whole sneezing thing comes from. I don't notice wild dogs sneezing, but it's been sort of conclusively quantified by science in this published paper. And apparently the sneezes have to reach a certain threshold before the group changes their activity. Isn't that fascinating? Sneezing. And it's maybe not a sneeze as you or I know. I mean, when we sneeze, we really are just clearing our nasal passages. Something's irritating our nasal passages, and we normally sneeze to get it out. It's an automatic response that we don't really have much control over. And my nose is so sensitive, I just have to touch it and I start sneezing. So it's obviously not a sneeze in that form, but that sort of blast of air from the nose is what they're doing. And it comes from a real scientific paper. Look at those two dogs. One's got their head sleeping on the other one, just on the left-hand side there. It's too sweet. A cuddle puddle of dogs. So, of course, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to sit here a little bit longer. And you guys are going over to JP.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. Just to link onto Lauren's wild dogs. We've got one of the favorite prey items for African wild dog at the moment right over here in front of us, and that's impala. I reckon that up to 75% of their prey consist out of impala. One of the things I also find particularly interesting at this time of year, where the rams are quite fatigued because of fighting for access to territory and for females, they often do get taken off guard by the dogs. And it's also one of the reasons why African wild dog will specifically den at this and pup at this time of year to make use of this supply. Oh, I'm quite surprised. We're already going into June and we still got a male impala that has holding a territory. This guy probably won't be keeping his territory for much longer. At night, we can also hear that the impalas are becoming more and more quiet, as they normally bellow and belch, as that they herd the females into their territory, as well as when they try and intimidate rival males. That's probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. None of them will be holding any more territories, and things will go back to normal, and everybody will be back into a normal mixed groups of male and females. And generally, by the end of the year, there's a little bit of a false rut again, where we see that the males will start setting up territories again, and females will start forming groups. And around by November again, at the end of November, early December, we'll most likely see all these little lambs being born. After a 6.5, 7 month gestation period. We generally find that the male impalas will keep these territories for approximately 2 weeks, but by the end of a rut, these periods become shorter and shorter as the competition for territories becomes more intense, and that might only last 6 or 7 days on a maximum. We're going to sit and watch these guys for a little bit longer and see what they're getting up to. Jonty has also found some impalas. Let's slow and see what he's is up to.
So these impala are just chilling, but we were actually busy tracking. We had found tracks of the male lion, and I was off the car, and we heard these impalas start alarm calling, so we rushed here at breakneck speed. But by the time we got here, they had stopped alarming, and they all seemed quite happy again. Sometimes they do make mistakes. When we were driving in here, there were some warthogs in the long grass. And you can imagine for these impala, if they see just the top of the back going through the grass, that they're not sure, they'll sometimes alarm, just in case. I've seen them before, alarm call at warthogs moving through the grass. They're all looking so incredibly healthy at the moment. Oh. I love seeing impala this time of year, their coat also matching in with the vegetation. Some walking across in front there. Impala, I suppose in theory it could. I mean, if it stabbed the lion with its horns or something, but it would be unlikely. The lion's just too big and strong, and the impalas do kick, so they could potentially injure the lion with a... Well, see that impala at the back, it's got a bit of a limp. You don't want the leopards or lions to see you limping out here. You make sure you walk strong all the time. So sometimes you'll see when predators catch impala, they kick quite fiercely with their hooves. So, I mean, a kick could injure a lion, but it would be highly unlikely that it would be life-threatening. It might just be like a superficial cut. So these impalas have pulled us off of the scent of what we're assuming is dark mane still moving around. So what we'll do is do a loop around. So the direction the tracks were heading would have been where Vuyatela access goes actually towards the Triple M boundary. So from where we are here, we'll just go up the boundary and check that he hasn't crossed out. But I must say I got very excited when I heard them shouting. I thought we were in the money. But it's still great. Maybe they just wanted us to come look at them. What does that one have on her jaw? Do you see that, Darren? A tick? No, I don't think it's a tick. I think it's like an old wound, maybe. I think it's an old injury that's healed up. Looks slightly swollen. We're going to leave these impala and go check the boundary. You're going to head over to Lauren and see what the wild dogs are doing.
We're actually going to leave the dogs very shortly because I really want to check on the African hockey gull nest. I'd love to show it to you with both the male and female on it. The dogs are obviously completely flat and I don't think they're going to move very far. They may move marginally, obviously, to sort of get into the shade, but I think they're going to be around for this afternoon, which is fantastic news. And because it gets colder earlier, the sun will be shining, but it drops quickly. The temperature drops. That means the dogs will get active earlier. But I just want to go and quickly check on that nest. I haven't been in a few days. Been very busy on Djuma. Winter has fully kicked in, I must say. The sightings are just phenomenal. Leopard action, lion action, dog action. I really wanted to see the hyenas. That's actually why I came to this side of the world to follow up on the 5 hyena, and then of course we bumped into the doggies. And you're all seeing it's been so lovely to spend the morning with them, I know. Sometimes nice to just go silent and just listen and watch them, especially when they're all greeting one another. Social rally. And it's just a touch base. They are extremely social, and we always have random conversations in camp, you know. If you were any animal, what would you be and why? Would you rather fly or be able to breathe underwater as your superpower? You know, those kind of conversations. And we always talk about which predator. Out of the predators we get here, mammalian predators, apex predators, if you like. Well, they're not all apex predators, but they're all at the top, is what I'm saying. Which one would you choose and why? And I always think, as much as I love hyenas, and I love leopards and I love lions, if I had to be one, I always think I would choose a wild dog. You've always got your pack. Always got someone to cozy into. Look at this pair just cozying. You've always got someone watching your back. You can play, you can have fun. It's a real cohesive unit, and I really love that. I think to be a solitary leopard out here would be hard. You are completely on your own. Especially a woman, especially a female who has to raise offspring. You don't have babysitters, you don't have den guards, you don't have other adults coming back and regurgitating food for your offspring. You are completely on your own. And I think that's tough, and it's so remarkable that many of our female leopardesses, Tandy, Kuchava, Sabui, Shudulu, they've all raised offspring to great success, and that's very impressive because it's not easy out here. You have to stash your cubs in a den, then you have to go and hunt for yourself, then you have to hunt to feed the cubs. You've got to keep moving the cubs den site in case the smell becomes too familiar, or if there's maybe been a lot of hyena action around. Whereas wild dogs, you have assistant, you have other pack members to help you raise your offspring. Okay, we're going to go and check the hawk eagle nest now, say goodbye to these doggies, but I believe Jaunty is on the move.
Well, I hope Lauren gets lucky with those hawk eagles. I've seen them flying around quite a bit the last few days. That is a wild-looking bird. So we're now on the Triple M. Excuse me. On the Triple M boundary. So, like I was saying, the last tracks over the line were off on our right, and they were heading this way, but we got sidetracked by those impalas alarming. They just wanted us to go look at them. So just going nice and slow along here. Darren and I are busy checking for tracks. Oh, the corrugations on the road. It's a bush massage. But I do think we're a bit further south. I think a bit further up we might get lucky. Benson, the slower you go, the easier it is. But yeah, if you're going fast, then well, it's very difficult actually. So it's part of the reason. I mean, we don't have a door because we're often getting in and out all the time. But you see, we'll drive slowly and just check out onto the road. If the tracks are going the same way that we are, or at least are going along the road, then it's a bit easier. Where it gets difficult is if they cross over the road, then you have to go very, very slowly because you're then looking for literally one track that's going this way as opposed to a whole row of tracks leading down the road. But it's another, the lodges where you have a tracker sitting on the front and you're cruising along at sort of 30 kilometers an hour or 40 kilometers an hour, and the tracker just stops you and says, oh, a leopard crossed here. So your eyes definitely get trained to it. So these sort of boundary roads, they're good and bad. They do get a lot of traffic in the day, so tracks kind of do get obliterated by the vehicles because people driving in personal cars, then it's even harder to see tracks, and they're not even looking for them, they're just driving. But it also means that if you see tracks on top of vehicle tracks, then you know you're on the money. So like I was saying a bit earlier, from basically where that car is as we go up, that's how I'm expecting the tracks to come out. Jerome, someone asked this the other day, and I said, I always like catching leopards. Well, sorry, not catching them, tracking them. But I must say, I've been talking to Darren a lot about tracking the last 2 days, and it's exciting to follow any track that if you find a fresh track, to be able to follow it and then start getting more puzzle pieces as you go. Then, I was just looking at those impala. Then you start getting more and more excited as the clues start getting better or the track starts getting fresher. That's very cool. But I think leopards always are high up there because what I was saying to Darren is part of the skill is being able to track it to the point where you can see it without them seeing you. So it's quite a lot of bush skill. We kind of get away with it a bit here in the Sabi sands because the leopards are used to being tracked. But if you were to track a leopard that's not used to being tracked, it would almost be impossible to get close to it because it would inevitably hear you or smell you, and you would just keep finding where it's been lying down. So it's that part of it's the ending part where you know you're getting close. I remember tracking lions with my brother when we did that sort of 20-night walk. And we tracked the lion. It was a very cool tracking mission. Okay. I'm just double checking these, but they're old. Damn. They are leopard tracks, but they're old ones. We followed these lion tracks quite far. They went down into a drainage line, out of a drainage line, in a dry riverbed, through some reeds. And it's also funny, you get this like sixth sense. Sometimes you'll happily walk through an area, and other times something will tell you, no, don't go in there, and that's where they'll be lying. But this lioness, we came up out of the riverbed on a big game path, and the tracks were clear, and then the path split into three, and we checked each arm, and there were no more tracks there. So we came back to the last track, and I said to my brother, no, this lion is right here somewhere, because now that we had kind of found the end of the tracks but couldn't see the foot. And we did a loop around the last track, like a semicircle. And fortunately, she was fast asleep, but it was crazy how close we had actually walked to her. We had probably walked within 10 meters from her, but she was sleeping. And then when we did the second loop around, she jumped up and gave us a little growl, and she ran the other way, luckily. But yeah, it's that moment where you know it's exciting to know that from following tracks you've been able to find the animal that you've been following the whole day. Okay, so this last little section I'm going to go really slow. So I'm just going to very carefully check this section.
Educating our youth about the environmental threats we face is critical. Our future depends on it. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, is actively leading the charge. Their goal is to encourage children to fall in love with our natural world and to empower them to live sustainably in the future. Through their school programs, the children learn to report on environmental issues through videos, articles and photos.
The WildEarth program has changed my life in so many beneficial ways. Being out there at the workshops, I was entitled to talk with others, socialize, as well as my writing skills and leadership skills have improved, so it has been great.
WESA is a membership-based organization. By joining WESA, you will be helping to provide valuable support for these youth education initiatives.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky.
too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Okay, so we're about to get to Vuyatela access. I haven't seen any tracks coming out of here. So the best thing to do is to go back to where we last saw the tracks. Let me just do this side of the loop. So the best thing to do is go back where we saw the tracks last. Because if he hasn't come out here, unless he turned north, then that will be a different story. But I'll just go back. I'll show you where he was. Looked like he went to Scent Mark, maybe. Brian, yes. With leopards, it's happened the most, where you're tracking, and you find yourself doing a loop, and then you find the leopard tracks on top of your tracks. That's when you just walk back to the car, because then it's actually just playing games with you. I've never had it with lions. Leopards, I've had it. And I once had it with the elephant bull who did that. But I don't know for him if it was a coincidence or if he was just feeding in a big circle. Okay, these lion tracks are on the road here. Where do they go? Must have turned off here somewhere. Cheeky little boy. I wonder if he went on this little path, eh? So I'm just going to look carefully here. It looks like quite a prominent little, I don't know if it's an old road or what it is, but I'm pretty sure that's where. I'm just going to check carefully here. Oh, here's one here. Don't know if you can get this down. So I'm just going to keep having a look here and see if I can see where he's gone. Here's another one here. You're going to head over to Lauren while I try to decipher this track.
Well, we're not going to make it home in time for breakfast, that's for sure. Jared, please tell John T not to eat all the food. My little vegetarian schnitzels, tell him not to touch them. I know how all the boys love the vegetarian schnitzels. They all make fun of me. But anyway, we have a massive roadblock. Definitely not one I'm complaining about. Sadly. But I'll keep checking every day. They're definitely starting to get ready, prepping the nest, shall we say. Are you guys having a little nap? Oh my goodness, we're definitely not getting home for breakfast. Sometimes I'll do that. See that big individual that Owen's showing you right now? Resting the trunk on the ground? Naturally, that's heavy. That appendage is full of muscle. It's heavy. Resting it on the ground, standing still. Sometimes they'll just take a minute or two's rest. Imagine if we could do that. There's an interesting study about humans taking micro-sleeps, and apparently we do it a lot more than we realise. Sometimes when we zone out, if we're maybe in a lecture or... Look at that one, Owen, put in his trunk. See it? Okay, you're showing us different ways to rest your trunk. We've got it. They're all showing off. If we're maybe sitting in a lecture or a theatre, or we're just really comfy in front of the TV, apparently we can actually zone out to the point that we're taking micro-sleeps. It's a really fascinating study. We're just not aware of it. So the next time you fall asleep in a lecture or when your mom is talking to you, there's your excuse. Sorry, I took a micro sleep and I didn't realize. What were you saying? Yeah, they're definitely resting. That huge cow is resting. And the little one's suckling. I'm not sure if you can see Owen right in between her legs. Yeah, those tiny other legs. There you go. There you go. Look at that youngster at the front with his back legs crossed. Oh, okay. I'm glad no one's got their sassy pants on today. All right in front of the vehicle. Look at that little one, Owen. So cute. Wow, what a way to end the most incredible drive. Wild doggies, Batilda, and a herd of elephants. Uh-huh. I see you. Look at that one's hole in its ear. Anyway, everyone has came to that time of the drive where we must say goodbye. We shall see you this afternoon. Thank you for joining.